face. Mm-hmm. And he said, the second commandment of the 10, Lo Yehi Lacha Elohim Achrim Al Panei. Do not allow or cause there to be, and it's this Elohim Achrim, gods of others or other gods. This word achar is the word other. Elohim is God, or it might mean powers, agencies that have effect even. Al Panei, well, it's translated different ways. Before my face, in my face. But the word ayin lamed is a yoke. Literally a yoke, like two cows, two cattle, oxen that are yoked together. Something in reference to the other is also ayin lamed. Al panei, yoked to my face. Playing with words a little bit. If we take the word panei, right, is pei, nun, yod. That's the paleo, right? So modern Hebrew, if that's easier for you, it's pei, nun, yod, panei. But here, let me just show you something about the pictographs. The letter pei is a mouth that opens.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The letter nun, they say, is a fish. It means more of like to multiply like fish. But nun finds its bearing, its context is that it comes out of the mem, like a fish lives in the water. So nun has to follow mem because it has to do with mem. And if, when I show you the sequence, you'll see that nun couldn't have been down here or over here. If it was just a consonantal phonetic, you could stick it wherever you want. Like the English alphabet, it doesn't matter. But because nun jumps out of the mem, it has to be there. And yod, like what you said, yod as a suffix means my. It's first person possessive. If I was going to say there's a mouth and there's something that lives in the mouth that can jump out, like the nun jumps out of the mem, and that it's personal possessive, but yod is also a hand, but kaf is an open hand, but yod is a working hand. So what is it that lives in your mouth that can jump out and go to work?
Tongue.
Words.
Words?
Yeah. Yeah, they go
At
to
your own tongue, the words you speak. So I can sit here and look at the word spelled panei, which is simply face or countenance or before me, and say it's actually, if I look at the pictographic letters, it's describing what words are. Words are something which I possess, which live in my mouth that can jump out and cause something to happen. That's by reading the letters, panei.
Wow, and is that ever
That's
the truth?
cool.
And it's true. And if he says, do not allow there to be or cause there to be, that's the word yedi, yodhe, yodhe, Elohim achrim. Okay, Elohim, if we just say, okay, powerful things, achar. The word achar in the dictionary means future, next, or other, or strange, different. Also delayed. So it's going to come in the future after a while.
The end.
At the end.
Akarith could be the end.
Akari.
What?
Akarith could be the end.
Did you say others?
It means other. So it's translated, typically, all you'll ever see in the translation is have no other gods.
Sure.
Or gods of others. Because they don't know. It could be either way. So you see from the Hebrew word, it says simply Elohim Acharim. And you might say gods of others, other gods. That's those guys' gods, not our gods. We've got good gods. We've got gods that...
Okay.
It's the other gods that are a problem. It's like, wait a second. Go back and look at the day that was spoken, Mount Sinai, Exodus 20. Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, speaking to Moshe and the 12 tribes of Israel. And he says, the first verse says, Anoki Yahuwah Eloheka, I'm the guy that just took you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery and bondage. Do not have or cause or allow there to exist any other reference of power or strength other than what I am declaring to you. If somebody comes along in the future with some other story, do not tolerate it to exist. And then, 1,500 years later, somebody shows up who says, hey, never mind all that. I've got a new way. Should we listen?
No,
No.
don't even waste your time.
Here's the problem with Jesus Christ. That name represents as the icon, the archetype of an entire paradigm of thinking that represents a difference than what this guy said back there from Mount Sinai. Which is why, my thinking collectively, the Jews, anybody who wants to be regarding of these words, has a very difficult, if not an impossible time, dealing with that entire thought structure. Now, I'm not talking about the man or the person or the teaching. I'm talking about the way we've
Exactly.
synthesized it now
Right,
2,000 years later.
That's why I like to
exactly.
call him Yeshua, the person who
right.
actually,
Right.
the Jewish rabbi who did actually live.
So I can't
Okay.
use the JC words because the JC guy represents the way of thinking, which is counter.
Absolutely.
Whereas the Yahusha or Yeshua, again, the spelling of words, what you mean by that, is this stuff.
Yes,
Exactly.
That
yes.
has to be echad, totally echad with his Father, his Avi in Hashemayim.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. What I have to do now is say, if something is being manifested in a church service, I can't just tell, oh, I know what spirit that is. It might look like this, it might look like that. But when Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh says, I have invented a sign, a symbol, it's called Yom HaShabbat. And this is the evidence, the proof, like a ring that says, you're my people, my Ami, and I am your Elohim. Okay? He invented it and it works. And then I go talk to my pastor who says, leave it alone, it has nothing to do with anything, and don't even talk to me about it. Yeah! Suddenly he has distanced himself from not even talking about it. Are you familiar with Malachi 3:16? Now John 3:16 in the New Testament is like the king of verses, right? I think Malachi 3:16 is right up there, pretty much on that same stature. You want to read it? Actually, you might have to read the
Malachi?
verse
Oh,
ahead of it.
Micah.
Malachi 3, maybe start with 14 or 15.
Malachi.
Does anybody know this verse? Not right off the top of your
I
head?
mean, I do, but it's.
Well,
not
that's
there.
why I bring it up, because
I've got
it's...
it ready if you want me
3:16,
to.
I have it.
Then those who feared the Lord
Okay,
talked with each
Back
other.
up a little bit. Back up to the paragraph break.
Now, up to
15 then?
15.
Sure, go ahead, try that one. Go ahead.
Oh,
Whoever
all right,
wants to.
I'm ready.
And now we call the proud happy. Yea, they that work wickedness are set up. Yea, they that tempt God are even delivered.
Okay, so just to give you a context of what's happening,
Mhm.
people look around and say, "Gosh, you know the parties that are happening right down the street right now. You're missing out on them. Yeah, you're sitting here and
We're having fun.
Yeah.
well, people are lamenting. They're saying, "Come on, we spend all our time. We sit there. We got our nose in the book. We pray, and whether or not we even see much evidence of him listening or caring, or gosh, get the enemy coming down on our back." And look at the wicked prosper. David even said the same thing quite a few times. And then so people are saying, why doesn't this make sense? And then the next verse then.
Then they that feared the Lord spoke often one to another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord, and that feared the Lord, and that thought upon his name.
The fact that we will sit here and discuss his stuff. See, the word Shem is name. But Shem also means fame, renown, reputation. It also means the word here and the word there. So it's where you're at. It's the occupation of all your concerns.
Here and there.
So if I say, hey, what's your favorite hobby? Or what kind of car do you drive? That's part of your Shem. What kind of dog do you have as a pet? Or would you like that? That's part of your Shem. It's what wraps up your identity. Every one of these letters is his Shem. But we think, oh, that's name. So how do you articulate the 4-letter tetragrammaton? Or is Jesus okay compared to Yahusha or Yeshua? It's like, wait a minute. We're missing it. To get together and talk about him is to analyze, appreciate, savor, to keep the Moedim, to regard Yom HaShabbat, and even if you're trying to figure out which calendar is, we're still concerning ourselves with his Shem, and so he, in his majesty on his throne there in the heavens, calls for one of his Melakim there to say, come over, grab a scroll, write down the names of each one of these people, would you please? And on the day that I make up or that I reveal my segula, my treasure, then you'll see, and there will be a distinct difference between whatever fun or wealth or whatever anybody thought they were having. When we see how much it means to him that we are sitting here talking about his stuff, I mean, that's going to be a spectacular occasion.
So the verses that speak like, do not take the Lord's name in vain. It's not the name itself. It encompasses who he is.
Absolutely.
What the nature of his being is. His thought pattern, his
essence.
Personality, his so it's not so literal as just the name Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh or Yehovah or Yahweh
or even G-O-D or
yes, or in the Lord's or in the disciples' prayer, may your name may your name be blessed or sanctified. It's not just the name, it's his being.
It's all that stuff. One other thing, as long as you mention that verse, we're talking about mishpat. As a man does, so will it be done to him. The way he articulated that verse right there was, don't lift up his name unto vanity or emptiness. The same word for vanity, it's Shin Aleph or Shin Vav Aleph. And the man will become empty. In other words, it's a picture of the mishpat right there. He says, if you take up his stuff, or even if you were to say, regard his matters as whatever, you'll become whatever. There's another place where he talks about the man who crafts an idol. The artist who chips it becomes, the word for the chipped fragments that come off of it is worthless gravel. That's the word for idol. And he says the one who chips away to form the idol, he himself will become as empty, as worthless as the chipped crumbs. If we lift up his name, well, we're not lifting it up at all. We're just, whatever. We become what we did to his name. And because I'm proposing that this whole thing is his Shem. That this whole thing is everything that he gave us of his stuff. And so then the study of Hebrew, letter by letter, is the studying of him. Is the appreciating of his face.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that the Elohim Achrim yoked to my face is not just, don't mention another name of a God in my face.
No.
But for us to think that Yeshua is somebody other than this is to have an Elohim Achrim, because we say that that is his face, the human manifestation of the Almighty. And if we have the wrong Yahusha, it's an Elohim Achrim. We can't do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even though we've been taught that for 2,000 years. And when somebody says, The seventh day doesn't matter. Are you kidding me? Go back and look through the Torah how many times he said it did matter. You think he changed what was leolam va'ed forever? Oh yeah, well them detestable practices, the Jews, we don't need no moedim. They're his witness and testimony of his beautiful grandeur, his ornamentation. He bejeweled himself, that these things bear witness, manifesting his personality, character, what was on his heart, and we go, yeah, well, whatever. Then we become, yeah, well, whatever. When I say the word rock, resh kuf, is thin spittle, so thin that there's nothing there, and we will become like that. He says in another place, Leviticus 23, if you treat my things with a casual disregard, whatever, then I will treat you with a fury of casual disregard. You don't hear? When I speak, I can't hear, though you scream when your enemies are tearing you apart. And we've lived 2,000, 3,000 years in this status. Because our teachers have lied to us.
Yeah.
Though they maybe didn't know, it's a lie nevertheless. We've been deceived. The purpose of coming back and regarding these words is, it's the truth. It's where the truth resides, because it's his Shem, because it's his stuff. So here's a riddle. John chapter 1. So the question of the riddle is, what is the word? Okay? Here. If you treat it as a memory verse or as a doctrine, that's one thing, but I'm trying to get you to get outside of that box. Okay, so here, the infinite one who's so big, he's so vast, he cannot be described. He can't be comprehended, but there's nothing to comprehend him yet. This is before the making of the heavens and the earth. The infinite one himself invents a word. In the beginning is a word. He made a word. Now he's too big to be described, but a word can be described. He can't be comprehended, but a word can be comprehended. So he, the infinite one, makes a word. And through this word, he projects his will, and the entire universe is manifest. Galaxies and solar systems and bugs and plants and people. And then this word, because this word acts as this lens through which this can happen, this word takes advantage of its capability of itself and jumps into itself, as it were, and comes through and becomes the epitome of creation, which is a human being. The one we call Yeshua, who lived 2,000 years ago, he is that word in human form. And it says this word is Elohim and is with Elohim. So we, from here, can look back through this word and imagine or picture or somehow grasp some comprehensible format of the one who can't be comprehended otherwise. So this word is acting as this tool by which the unfathomable is fathomed, the incomprehensible is comprehended, but it's through the context of this word. So what is that word? What word? No, that's the name of the guy that was the word made
Do you
flesh.
mean Devar or Torah? Or?
Well, the word Debar references what that is, because
But
the word
he is
word
the living
means
Torah.
word. Huh?
Yeah, he is the living
The
Torah.
Torah itself is human instructions which tell us bit by bit how to manifest what this word means by its heart in our affairs with one another. But that's not the word.
No,
I mean,
but he's the essence of the living Torah.
He is the essence of that
He's
Torah.
also every weapon that
But what is
he's
this
been
word?
given.
What is this word itself that he invented first?
Oh, the Aleph Babe.
You say that so casually? Oh, the Aleph Babe? What?
I finally got
Well,
what
of
you were
course.
asking.
His name, what name? Yod He Vav He?
Beyond that, that's
Aleph He Yod He?
it's retracing what you said. I'm just thinking out loud. It's not just what we can picture in a structure of a word, but it is all that he is.
Put into the context of a word in such a way that we can manage it somehow. Manage it as that, remember, through this word, human consciousness, human nephesh, heart, is a manifestation and expression of this word. So anything that exists out here in the real world of material cosmos came through this word. And anything that we want to do to relate to him has to be in the context of this word, because this word acts as this quarter, this funnel, this portal, this door, as the link. Anybody else got any ideas?
Aleph and Tav,
Well, that's the first letter and the last letter,
and everything in between.
and everything in between, which is exactly what she was talking about. Remember I said
It could
the
be
answer
a
to every
word.
question is the alphabet? She was listening, I guess.
Yeah, it's
But
a
you,
word.
what made you think it's the
I
alphabet?
finally got what you were asking.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking for a
duh.
word. Yeah.
Of course, it's, you
Here's an
know,
interesting clue. In the beginning of the word is Elohim. Remember the
Yes.
Aleph is first
Yes.
person self-referential? It is. Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey is translated I am, that I am.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
And it's with. Well, the letter bet, literally as a prefix letter, means in, with,
Right.
on, among, through, against. It's association of one in context to another. So imagine this now. Before John 3:16 that Yeshua was begotten, begotten has to do with bet, format, taking on form. So before the begetting of Yahusha as we know him, the human, he invented this word, but before the word there was nothing, because the
Right.
word was used through which to make the heavens and the earth. So this word was the first thing he formulated. And if this word is this Hebrew alphabet, it's all right here. It's all in this word. Yeshua is the guy that this word is talking about.
Right.
Elohim, I go to my father and your father, my Elohim and your Elohim. That's what Yeshua said.
Right.
It's all right here. For us to say, well, what did he really say? It's all right here. But what is this? Well, that's the study. And as we study this, we're studying his Shem, which is the stuff that he finds to be so... That flips his switch. He's turned on by people taking the time to regard his stuff. That's this stuff.
absolutely.
This is the biggest deal of all the big deals, through time and eternity, heaven and earth. This is the Father's heart to listen to what he articulated in this string of 22 letters. That's what else is worth our time to do?
Nothing.
Good questions.
Nothing.
So could we say that this is the only way that we can actually, if the word applies, understand him?
This was the tool of understanding that he provided.
Right.
And for Yeshua to come speaking these words, I don't think he was speaking Greek, and probably Aramaic is kind of like a
That's
blended.
questionable too.
Yeah, but Andrew Gabriel Roth did a great job with the Aramaic English New Testament. I wouldn't want to diminish that. But
Yeah.
if Yeshua's going to become articulating pure truth, I'm
This
betting
is it. Yeah.
I'm betting he was
it's true,
speaking
yeah.
Hebrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's reading the scroll, he is.
Yeah.
Isaiah scroll says.
Yeah.
He's definitely reading it.
So then, that's just to say, that's the reason why we're here to look at this. But then what's in this? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
If you have a book and you could say, well, here's the title, and this is to say, yep, it's all true. That's Aleph and Tav. It's everything in here. And just for what it's worth, Mem is water, like a wave action, and there's the wave, Aleph Mem Tav is the word Emet, which is truth. So
You take
here's the
the
thing.
olive away, you have
Huh?
death. You take the olive away, you have death.
That's right.
The word Aleph Mem is mother. So the truth is, Aleph, I will. Aleph Mem, be born of a mother. And Mem Tav, die.
Right,
That's
exactly.
awesome. Wow.
Well, who's he talking about? The guy, well here, let me show you something in a little bit in the letters. Here. Aleph, the prefix letter, means I will. Baguette is the word for cloaked or camouflage.
I will forward.
Bet means to be put into material form. In, with, among, through, right? Bet is
Right.
through the word. So Aleph is this intention. Bet is to be put in material form. Gimel is a camel, but it's a voyager. It's to transport. It's the ambassador to go from Abba's locale, the other dimension that we call Shemayim, not necessarily just the stars, but the dimensionality,
His home,
To-
house.
the earth, Dalit, earth,
The door.
north, south, east, west, the door, the earth, air, fire, water, solid, liquid, gas, plasma, fourness, the four seasons. Fourness speaks of earthiness. So I will put myself in some sort of material form, giving myself a foot to come walk the earth, in disguise, hey, looking like, revealed as, Vav, number 6, the man. I'm going to come down there dressed up in disguise to look like a man who will be put to the weapon, put to death,
Wow.
Okay.
for the fact that those guys broke the vow, and I will somehow amend or ameliorate the circumstances. Be put into a tomb, tet, an enclosure, a big round rock rolled in front of it, the tet, and yod, sealed by the Roman seal, but yet this is 10 letters. 10 is forms a minyan, which is a legal minimum.
Yeah.
I will myself, by my hand. So here's the 10 letters of what he's going to come and do. Then we go, wait a minute, who? How do we know who? Hey Vav Zion. Hey means behold, look, hine, or hineni means here I am. Hine is behold, look, gladly. Vav is the suffix letter meaning he or it. Zion, if you look at the word spelled Zion Hey or Zion Aleph Tav, it means this. So Zion is specifically looked at, and the letter Zion itself is not just a weapon, but it's like a crown or an officer's hat, or to be adorned with weapons. So if you have a guy, an officer with a ceremonial sword, or the police officer with a gun, or the guy with a badge, all those are Zion things. They're things to say, see this? This is really important. So when Pilate took the guy who came in disguise, and he said, Eke homo, behold this
Behold
man. The crown of thorns, the purple robe, the scepter, the Roman flail ripping apart his earth suit of disguise. And then they put him into a tomb and rolled the rock. Pilate was fulfilling the prophecy of these 3 letters, that it was this guy who did this, and then they did that to him. So I can look at Pilate saying, Eke homo, behold this man, and say, that proves that this is talking about him. And the interesting thing is, these 3 letters, if you look at het-tet or het-tet aleph, the word reads sin. But if it's het-tet yod, it's my sin. The dictionary says that the word het-tet also means sin offering. It also means to incur guilt
Sure.
and to find favor, to become cleansed. So, for me to say this guy that this was done to came in disguise from here as the voyager to the earth, claiming to be the door to show humans the way back to get to the Father's house, as my sin offering, because I incurred guilt, he incurred my guilt to cleanse me so that I can
Cool.
find favor.
Wow.
And that's in reading this word as a word in Hebrew. Certain people like Rabbi Tovia Singer will say, there's no verse in the Hebrew scriptures ever saying the Messiah will come and die. It's not there. The Christians look to things and say it's cryptically alluded to, but it's never blatantly said. Here is where it's blatantly said.
Wow.
But you have to know how to read that this is the Aleph Tav, the one word that's never translated. Bereshit bara Elohim Aleph Tav, Hashemayim Vayet HaHaretz. The 4th letter, one right there, like the 7 branches of the menorah, that one right in the center, the servant candle, the one that's the focus of the center axis of everything. The Aleph Tav, just to read some more letters, Kaf Lamed Mem is the word where we get the word calamity or calm, where everything stops. It means to be put to disgrace. But if you look at Yod Kaf Lamed, like you put your hand to doing all, so according to this, Kaf Lamed represents the Torah, this represents the kingdom. So here's the Mishkan, the place of the crucifixion, the place of the red heifer sacrifice outside the gate. 3 letters, het, tet, yod, hes a fence. Like the Mishkan wall. Kaf lamed, the barbecue grill. Kaf is lines, like a grate, or like a drain. Lamed is an authority, a teaching and instructions. Lamed, like talmudim, means to teach and learn. So this teach and learn the lines of instructions of the Torah. This is to come into the kingdom of the blue, purple, red, white, colors and embroidery. More to teaching, but I believe that stands for Yod, He, Vav, He. Yod, the blue, the authority, like cops wear blue, the blue sky. This is the guy that made up the place. Purple, the purple royalty. These are the royal words of instruction. Red, Adam, red, he came as the red man, Adam, as the Vav man, and then white, these 3, Samek, Ayin, Pei, Shema, Shomer. Robes of righteousness, the white linen. So I think that the pattern here embedded is blue, purple, red, white, Yod, He, Vav, He, is the 4 ways that he expressed himself and made himself known, is his hand making the creation, his words giving us the Torah. He came in the form of a human as Yahusha Mashiach, and then he gave us his Ruach to lead us in the path of doing the Torah as exemplified by Yahusha, which is the robes of righteousness, doing Mishpat and Zadikah with Emet and Chesed as per the Ruach HaKodesh, leading us on Haderek, the path, the way, which is the way of walking. So you get blue, purple, red, and white. So those are the colors on the Mishkan, the priest's garments. Samek, Ayin, Pei, in the covered place. Menorah, table of showbread, altar of incense. Malachi 3, Micah 6:8 says, He has shown you, O man, what is good. What does Elohim require of you? Do justice. Something about that lines up with this. Love mercy, having an eye for the other, the balancing of scales, walking humbly with your Elohim. In the interest of time, we could go
We're
on and
going
on.
to take a break and come back. I mean, people, you can stay, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is fun, okay?
This is
So,
good.
could we take a break then,
Is
or
this
do you
a
want to
good
finish the
place?
point?
Yes,
Then we'll take the break?
Let me just give you the last piece of the alphabet.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I want to be respectful and
Yep.
say, boy, before you get past your dinner time, right? Okay, so here's the thing. So if this means if you don't put your hand to doing the Torah, you get calamity and you're put to shame and abhorrence, but you put your hand, this word Yod Kaf Lamed means to have the power and capacity to contain it all and prevail. It's like, that's just reading this word. Lamed Mem, that means for them, to them. So he came and did this. He had the power and capacity to contain it all. Mem Nun is where we get the word manna, where it means from where, it means to assess. It lines up with the labor. It has to do with taking these matters inside your own heart and birthing the seed that the Torah, like this is like a garden row, right? You take his seed within and you nurture it like this, like an embryo in a womb, like the fish in the water, and it comes to life, lighting the menorah, as it were, to do what he said where he said. So when he talked about the good steward doing what the master commanded versus one who wouldn't do, it goes into Daniel 12. We could go on for hours. But the point is, this is doing what he said, and do justly, love mercy, scales of balance. When you have an opportunity to be merciful, be merciful. Not because they deserve it. If they deserved it, there wouldn't be mercy. You give somebody the grace and the favor of what they don't deserve, because now you're putting in your side of the scales, not justice, but mercy. And the justice will bring back the Zadikah of victory, deliverance, and salvation. That's why Yeshua said, hey, don't just hate your enemies, love your enemies. Why? Because you're dumping on your side, you're building up. He's giving us the mechanics of the kingdom. So here, he was put into the tomb, and you've got a section of one subject matter, 2 subject matter, 3 subject matters, 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb, and a sprout of resurrection. That's the resurrection. Zadi is a sprout. It's a picture of a fish hook, but it's like Aaron's rod that budded inside, that they put inside the Ark of the Covenant. Kuf is to raise up, or to dig a hole and plant something down. After he resurrected, 10 days later, or 40 days later, he ascended. And the disciples, the Talmudim, and the Melachim said, hey, you know he's going to come back the same way. So there's something about this kuf, and this kuf is monkey. It's this long arm. It's this sun on the horizon. It's this long reach. So way in the future, he who resurrected ascended and is gone to prepare this place, and he's coming back with all his other friends and cohorts, and when they come back, it's going to be as Resh, the exalted man, not the Vav man who was put to the weapon, but he's coming back as the Resh man, Sheen El Shaddai, the glorious Almighty, to conquer his enemies, to repay those who sought him according to the terms of the contract. Tav. So here's the contract. I am going to come down and do this, and so you'll know this is me for the sake of validating and making it possible for you to contain everything I put in here. So if you take it to heart, you can be this light in the dark place. And this is how you do what I said, which was has the promise of the restoration of the resurrection. And this is the key to eschatology, is that this is a fractal system. So it's not just, oh yeah, when you die, you get to resurrect. It's right now. If we put his words to the practice right now, it has this effect. Resprouting here and now. In our own bodies, in our nation, in our people, on the planet, because everything works according to the fractal system, according to this, because the entire universe is according to this. And Yahusha came as the prototype model, and when he rose from the dead, it was to show us that Israel could resurrect from being lost across the face of the earth, and that the whole world is recoverable if we would just go back and do what he said. You know, the thing on the internet, I've heard this before too, but they showed a picture, 2 tanks, same water. This one was cloudy, this one was perfectly clear because there was oysters in it. He made oysters clean the filthy water.
Right.
He put systems in place, and if we don't do what he said, we have no idea what we could be doing. So I think what's in front of us is us right about here coming back to doing his words, open mouth. One last little piece. The word spelled Reshin Tav, Aleph Reshin Tav is the word betrothed. Reshin Tav is net, trap, or snare. Kuf is like this sickle. So here's a picture of him coming back and harvesting his own and taking them to what he said. Gathering up. But Pezadi is the word pronounced pizza or pizza. It means open mouth. Very curiously, in the Sermon on the Mount, it says Yeshua, seeing the multitudes, went up onto a mountain, sat down, and he opened his mouth. Why does it say those words?
I always wondered that.
He opened his mouth. Monty Getz did a wonderful song, and he starts it off saying, he sat down and he opened his mouth. I think the reason that's there is to pull our attention to Pezadi. It means open mouth. It also means the grave opened. It also means his words will restore to life that which was dead. If we just believe what he said and do it and hear and do it. Take these words as truth. They have to be. If it's the word by which the entire universe was made, and by which his entire kingdom was established, which is his very own nature and identity, there can be no doubt that these words function and work every time forever. You can't just scrub off a couple, no Sabbath day anymore. Are you kidding me? But we've been lied to.
Yeah.
That was part of the curse for turning our backs, our forefathers. But we, present tense right here, imagine this. We can turn the entire last 2,000 and 3,000 years, all the way back to David and Solomon spun out and started doing the stupid thing with the Elohim Achrim. We can change all that just by doing what he said. Just by listening to these words, favoring them in our heart, Memnun, and bearing the light as a lit menorah to do what he said with an attitude of regard.
Wow.
We can change the face of the earth more so than with a multi-trillion-dollar defense budget.
That's the wrong kind of weapon.
Yeah, but imagine this. We have been equipped to be the most powerful agents in the universe.
Yes.
And it was all thrown away, thinking that it was trivial nothing. So he took it away and had Constantine implement this authoritative decree that made it illegal to keep the Sabbath day or the festivals. And I thought, wow. But now things are different. That 2,730-year curse, which we can talk about later if you want.
Wow. Yeah.
And you can break apart these words. If you read what this little word means here and what this word means and this word means, and just read them in their natural order. The story's right there. And because it describes Yeshua. He came from Abba's house as the voyager to the earth to be put to the death, put into the tomb, 3 days and 3 nights later, resurrected, ascended, coming back as Reshine to fulfill the covenant.
And
Well, that's him.
The really cool thing is, you just covered the Peshat. So how much more is there to dig into?
Yeah, I'm just saying that this alphabet is not Christian, but it
No.
validates the Mashiach sent to Israel as per the terms of the covenant. And regardless of how anybody misinterprets him, Kaf Lamed represents the Torah, the 2 letters right in the middle. Kaf Lamed reads all, or completely, wholly, like 7 Shabbat, and Lamed Kaf means to you, or for you, to teach you. Lamed,
Right.
Lamedka, and it's like, simply by dwelling your mind on the alphabet, you can see the truth of all these things that have been lied about and distorted over the ages. And then you can sit there and look at the spelling of every word in that dictionary or in the Tanakh, and it's all more the same. It can't betray this message. So any spirit or any would-be Messiah that betrays any part of this message, like changing the day or changing the Moedim, here, this lines up with Pesach, Chag HaMatzot, Shavuot, Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shemini Atzeret.
Wow.
The 7 Moedim. So the 7 Moedim are integral to the entire alphabet, which is, white is like the kingdom of heaven, right? He came down to cross over between the kingdom of heaven and this earthly darkness. This is the other side, the Kuf event. And here he said that the kingdom of heaven is within you. So somehow within this pattern of the Mishkan, in the midst of the darkness, is the same vibrancy and vitality of the life of the very kingdom of Yahweh's own being and presence, of everything that he decided to be, to show, to make. It's all right there. So to do away with the Moedim can't happen, so that any voice of authority, whether it claims to be the Holy Spirit or Jesus Christ or some vision or some angel, if they do away with these things, it's like, I'm done. I don't need to listen. I don't need to validate. I don't need to excuse. I'm not saying anybody's going to hell, but I don't have to listen to that voice. That's the point of that. Anyway, we should go ahead and
Let's take a break. Let's eat some food. Why don't you hit the button there, Carol?
Yes. Which
The
one?
right-handed button.
Someone else hit it.